So after a breakup, most guys start chasing attention, not attraction. They think getting back out there fast will fix the pain, but what actually happens is they just end up dating low interest women who make everything harder. So in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how to attract high interest women, specifically after a breakup. Now, if you've been following me for any amount of time, I always mention how we should always and only date high interest women. In fact, this one discovery has completely changed my dating life, because just like you, I used to attract more medium or low interest women. It wasn't until I had my first high interest woman, and that's when I truly saw what it was like to have a woman really into you with a strong, genuine desire. Now, if you haven't had this before, what does high interest actually look like? Well, it's pretty simple. High interest women make dating effortless. They communicate clearly, they don't play games, and they make themselves available fast and reciprocate energy. Think about a time in which you might have probably met a high interest woman, right? She made herself easily available, she showed up to the date, she didn't flake, she maybe even validated you, right? And what I've also found with high interest women is that you don't need to convince though. I hate convincing. That's why I don't like, these old school PUA tactics of game and manipulation, because all you're really doing is trying to convince a woman to like you. That's not how dating works. Dating is essentially casting the attractive bait out there, which is ourselves, and then getting the fish to bite who are high interest. We do not convince. All we simply do is lead them to where we want them to go. This will make dating so much easier for you. Now, also with high interest women, what I've also found in terms of attraction is that you are either perfectly their type, or they perceive your value to be higher than theirs within that specific context. So if you are meeting a woman, in a specific environment or dating apps online, doesn't matter, she either finds you specifically to be her type. Maybe you remind her of her ex, maybe you remind her of her first love, her first crush, whatever, her imprint of attraction. But alongside with that, she sees your value in some sort of way, be it your looks, your status, the way you present yourself, to be better than her. This is due to hypergamy, which causes a woman to want to naturally date up. Now, if you're a guy post-breakup, perhaps the biggest mistake that I see men make is, number one, chasing validation for connection, trying to fill that void by, craving attention from women in which you're not that genuinely attracted to, or once again, these low interest women. But what you should be doing instead is building yourself up, putting yourself out there in the right way, so that way you can find and rebuild genuine attraction. This is what this video is for. Now, since I am a coach and I work with guys who are post-divorce or even post-breakup every single week, I've always noticed guys struggle with a few things. And the first thing is that you're always mentally comparing every woman to your ex. Listen, she's your ex for a reason. No woman's ever going to be the same. Sure, you might find similarities in terms of how they act or how she is as a person, just being a nice, feminine, sweet person, but we don't want to compare every single prospect to our ex, because that's going to trick our brains to think our ex was so great or our ex was, the best woman ever. And that once again is going to put us in that scarcity mindset in which we want to avoid. So with that being said, do not sabotage potential connections because your standard is emotional familiarity, not quality. Now, also, you're subconsciously chasing closure instead of growth. That's what we don't want, right? We want growth within ourselves, internally, externally, and also with the woman who we're attracting. That next woman you attract, I want her to be better than your ex. I want her to be hotter. I want her to provide more value to you. I want her to be sweeter. I want her to be better in every aspect. But guess what? In order to do that, we have to improve ourselves as men, which we are going to get into. Now, before we get into that, if you are watching this and you realize that your dating life does feel stuck after the breakup, like you keep attracting women who don't match your energy, your vibe, or maybe even your standards, that's exactly what we fix inside the Romeo Effect. Now, the Romeo Effect is my plug and play dating system that has been battle tested over the past 5 years. And by using the Romeo Effect, you will gain more confidence, you will improve your looks, your style, you will improve your online presentation so that you actually attract high interest women who show up to the date and who actually bring value to your life. Now, I've done this myself. I've been seeing a woman for the past 4 years, and I've been in that point in which I thought I was never going to attract somebody who was better than my ex. Boy, was I wrong. And it was only because I implemented this dating strategy that I call the Romeo Effect. Now, if you want to see how this works in full, I created a free presentation. The link will be down below. All right, now let's get into the actual strategies of attracting more higher interest women. And the first thing you have to do is have what I call non-negotiable filters, aka comply or goodbye. We do not negotiate with our standards. If the woman does not comply based upon what we want, then simply we have to let her go. We have to. The reason why you're not attracting high interest women in your life is because you're letting too much slide. slide. You're letting too much slide. You know, if she's disrespectful, if she doesn't fall within frame, if she is non-compliant, we let those women go. Because once again, if we don't, then we're naturally operating in a scarcity mindset, and we cannot do that. We have to operate in abundance. Now, in terms of some other standards and filters, number one, she absolutely must be feminine. She must be a feminine woman. This is how relationships work moving forward. There's a strong masculine and there's a strong feminine, because femininity is a byproduct of genuine interest. So this is totally funny, and one thing you will notice about women is that they act completely different with different types of men. A woman who is very feminine and sweet towards you is likely because she's highly attracted towards you. However, that same woman could have been a complete asshole towards her ex, or could have been a complete asshole towards the guy who approached her on the street the other week. It's because attraction wasn't there. Attraction is aligned with how feminine a woman is. Even the most masculine women out there, though masculine women are overall a red flag, truth be told, they are feminine for the right guy. Now, also, as I stated before, she must stay rooted within your frame. She cannot pull frame or try to change the frame or the dynamic. And what that simply means is simply allowing you to lead, allowing you to be the man within the relationship. As simple as that. Very, very straightforward. Now, as I stated before, in order to attract more higher interest women, we have to improve ourselves, especially after a breakup. Likely, if you've been in a long-term relationship, you've been stagnant with your fitness, you've been stagnant with your photos, you've been stagnant with pretty much everything in your life, maybe outside of your career, and that's not how the game works. Especially when you're single, you have to improve every single area. Now, I would say the highest ROI is number one going to be refreshing your photos, and you need to implement something in which I call points of leverage. Now, points of leverage, we go deeper inside the Romeo Effect, showing you exactly how to implement it. But to just put it straightforward, when I say points of leverage, all I really mean is what are the subtle cues that make your photos stand out compared to the average man. Points of leverage could be your sex appeal, could be the lifestyle that you're showing within the photo, could be your photo quality, could be the style that you are wearing, could be subtle forms of pre-selection. In total, there are about 9 points of leverage, but you need to figure out how you can show at least 2 within any given moment. Now, if you want to see this actually in real time, just go to my IG at Austin_Dunham, in which I have purposely posted every single photo in carousel to show at least 2 degrees of points of leverage. Now, as I mentioned before, with the points of leverage, we have our style element. You need to update your style. You need to dress how you want to be perceived and align with the woman who you want to attract. Now, I believe in a universal style. That way we don't niche ourselves down too small, but we attract many types of women, right? Because going back to the fishing analogy, dating is fishing. If you have a very particular bait that only catches catfish, then we're only going to catch catfish. But if we have that universal bait, it can catch catfish, it can catch dolphins, it can catch turtles, it can literally catch every fish under the sun. That's how we need to craft our style. And I believe the best style for that is what I call the classy aesthetic. I'm literally wearing it right now. Polos, button downs, nice fitted t-shirts, trousers, things like that, with accented a little bit of jewelry to show a little bit of sex appeal. That's how we need to update our style. And within the Romeo Effect, we'll actually show you exactly where to shop and where to source the clothes if you are struggling in that department. Now, this should go without saying, but get back in the gym, bro. 3 times a week at a minimum. I come from a gym background, and so with me, this is a simple non-negotiable, but you should at least be training every muscle group at the minimum 1 time a week. Ideally twice a week, but at the minimum 1 time a week. Right now, I currently run a push-pull leg split. So push-pull legs, 6 days a week. It's worked the best for me. It allows me to go in the gym 40 minutes, hour max, including cardio. I'm in and out. It's very, very time efficient. All right, so moving on, in order to attract higher interest women, there's another strategy you can do, and I call it low effort openers and compliance. And so whenever you think of, using a dating app or even cold approaching a woman, a lot of guys tend to overthink, what should I say? Should I say something very witty, catchy? But what I figured out is that if attraction is already there, if she finds you interesting, it almost doesn't matter what you say on the open. Yes, we should, for the most part, have things that are guided towards their profile, their prompts, make it a bit personalized. But if we're really trying to run volume, what I found is that the more simple you keep your openers, the better. Now, you can have canned openers that are simple that actually spark really, really good results. And I have a few of them that I'm going to gatekeep for now. I will share them in the future, but for now, I am going to gatekeep. But some simple messages include, hey there, her name, or hey. Like, think about it. When women are on dating apps and they message a guy first, which should happen if your presentation's on point, it's always very simple stuff. Hey, handsome, how are you? Very simple. And if you want to attract more higher interest women, and this almost works as a filter, also keep your messages simple. Because guess what? If you really try on the opener, you make something that took you 5 minutes to create, sure, she might reply, but if she was never high interest in the first place, guess what? She's going to reply 1 or 2 times and the message is going to go ghost. Versus with high interest women, if you simply just message her, hey there, her name, or some sort of witty canned opener that you can just copy and paste over and over again, they will reply. But not only that, they'll keep this conversation going. And this is going back to the idea that if we do increase our presentation, become more attractive, have the good photos, we don't have to implement that much game and strategy. All we simply have to do is lead. That's how dating should be. Once again, this is why dating should be easy, because if you attract higher interest women, it does become easier. You don't have to overthink your text all the time. Now, also, when it comes to your text, don't try to perform and be a dancing monkey and try to be super funny and flirty. That's not needed whatsoever. All you have to do, once again, is lead the interaction with grounded masculine energy. So not using a lot of emojis, not being so expressive or exciting or using exclamation points. No, we simply have a conversation, we move them through what I call the dating funnel, and then from there, we set up the date. Pretty straightforward. And if we're running high volume with high interest women, then you get to do the choosing. So it's no longer, I don't have any dates. It's like, I have too many dates to choose from. Who do I like the most, or who's showing the most compliance? And lastly, speaking about compliance, we need to run what I call a compliance test. Now, a compliance test, once again, is a built-in filter that is specifically done top of funnel to test desire. Now, Austin, what do you mean by this? All I mean is that when she's on the dating app, or even if you met her in person, instead of getting her number or asking for her number, you give her your number or you tell her to message you. Why does this work as a compliance test to test genuine desire? Because if a woman was never interested in you in the first place, she is not going to take the time to type out your number and send you a message. She is not going to take out the time to go to your Instagram and follow you or send you a message. She's just not. And so I discovered this a very long time ago. It's like the woman who passed the compliance test, 99% more likely to go out on a date, because there's something called sunk cost fallacy. And that is whenever somebody invests heavy through these micro sort of tests that we give them, they're more likely to actually follow through because they don't want to lose out on their investment. Little psychology hack for you right there. All right, so we attract high interest, but how do you actually maintain it? This is something that a lot of guys don't talk about. Now, for you specifically out of a breakup, what I don't want you to do on the date is to talk bad about your ex or mention that you just got out of a relationship. That can kill attraction or lower it or get her mind wandering. Instead, just say that you've been single for at least 6 months. Like 6 months is that sweet number to where it's not too long, but it's not too short. Once you get to know her more and more, sure, you can be more honest, but if that does come up within days 1 through 3, just say, you've been single for the past 6 months, you kind of been focusing on yourself, and now you're putting yourself back out there trying to date, and then quickly flip the conversation back on her. Don't make the conversation about you and your dating history. Flip it back on her as soon as possible, because guess what? The person who is asking the questions is the person who is leading the interaction, and as a man, we always need to lead. Now, like I said, most men will never recover their edge after a breakup. They either chase women endlessly or close off completely. But once you rebuild the presentation, the mindset, and the standards, dating becomes easy again. Now, if you want to see how my full system works, combining all these elements together, that way you attract more high interest women, that way you become more attractive, that way you have so much volume you don't even know what to do with, your dating life effectively runs on autopilot through building an online dating strategy, then check out what I made for you down below. It's called the Romeo Effect. This will absolutely change your dating life for the better. Currently, right now, we have over 100 testimonials, and I simply want you to be next. So click the link down below. I created a free presentation going over the exact and whole process. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Peace.